path, my journey. I'm willing to explain it all to you guys. No holding back anything. I just hope you're ready for the experience, and I just hope you can handle it.
Disclaimer. This video was intended for an adult audience only. Viewer discretion is advised. Anything you see in this video, do not attempt to recreate. This video was created for documentation purposes only. Our purpose is education. We are not justifying or glamorizing using substances. What we are doing is educating people on the substances that we have used and what it has done for us. Do not recreate or do not redo the substances we have done just because we talk about it.
What's going on, guys? So, in this video, what I want to talk about, I'm going to have the microphone set up like this, so you guys can catch it clearly, because I've been trying to use this microphone, and it's like, I'll put it on the table with this little table mic stand thing, but it's like I can't get the mic close enough. So, this is good. But I'm just waking up, and it's like, it's still early in the morning. It's 5:20 a.m. And yeah, I just wanted to make this video about psychedelics and science, because I was watching a video last night about some new scientific research that's being done on ayahuasca. Now, for those that don't know what ayahuasca is, briefly, ayahuasca is an Amazonian brew. They brew two plants together. It's basically, I say basically, drinkable DMT. And I say basically because there is some differences, because the MAOI adds a differentness to the DMT experience. A more calming anxiety, like you're being lifted up, like you're being guided through the experience. But what I really wanted to talk about wasn't really about ayahuasca necessarily. It's just about how there's like the psychedelic scientists, and then there's the psychedelic explorers. And once in a while, you get people like Dennis McKenna, who are both psychedelic scientists and psychedelic explorer. Now, when you are a psychedelic scientist, you have a lot of issues when it comes to either explaining your views, either getting your views out there, because you have to stay within a certain ballpark range, and you can't go past that. Basically, you got certain things that you can do and that you can't do, and if you're a scientist. But, and I guess before I get to the cons of being the scientist, really the pros are, that people take you seriously. If you're a scientist, you got a degree, people will take you seriously, just for the fact that you got a degree. Now, I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but what I am saying is that people will take you seriously. Now, when you're somebody that does not have a degree, but you are a deep psychedelic explorer, you're not taken as seriously, but you can play around with the thoughts and ideas a lot more. You can solidify your idea. You don't have to go by science if you're not a scientist. So, since, like, personally me, I'll talk about me for a second, where it's like, I don't have to go by science for what I believe, for my experiences, whatever. I do, though, but I don't have to go as in they have certain regulations that they got to go through, certain loopholes they got to go through. There's a bunch of bullshit that they got to go through as a scientist who's trying to study psychedelics, that a psychonaut like myself can just use the psychedelic hundreds of times, and basically get a big picture of what the psychedelic is from my personal experiences with it. Now, I look at it like a scientific experiment in a way. Back when I was using DMT, I was looking at it scientifically. I wanted to scientifically know what the fuck is going to happen to me if I use this many times. I wanted to know, then I started diving deep within the psychedelic realm, and I wanted to map it out. I wanted to map out the DMT world, because I've going back and forth, you kind of figure out that there's kind of a set design to the way DMT space is laid out. Not like a beginning, middle, and end, but it's a little more chaotic than beginning, middle, and end, but it is similar to, there are just certain places in there. There's certain places, and this is This is exactly what I mean. Scientists cannot say, like I'm about to say, with 100% confidence because they'll probably lose their fucking job. But I believe 100% that DMT takes you to another dimension. And I believe that quantum physics and quantum mechanics will soon be able to help prove that that other dimension is real. I think the quantum world and the psychedelic world have a lot in common. I think they might even be the same world. Now, in order for us to ever figure that out, we're gonna have to go deeper into science. Now, science is in the middle of an evolution, so the science that we know today is going to be different than the science we know tomorrow. Especially because quantum physics and quantum mechanics is making a huge impact and a huge come up. It's starting to come up right now. And I mean, even quantum physicists don't get taken as seriously. It's like it's funny because quantum physicists, psychedelic scientists, and psychonauts all have a lot in common. And the thing they have in common is we're pushing the boundaries. And quantum physics is pushing the boundaries because the deeper you get with quantum physics, it's not like any other science. It's not, I don't know. The deeper you get with quantum physics, the more you figure out you don't know. With most sciences, it's like the deeper you get into the science, the more you understand. With quantum physics, the deeper you get into it, the more you don't understand. It's the same thing with the psychedelic world. You know, you could do psychedelics, a handful of times and say, yeah, I understand. Then do it a handful more and be like, okay, I don't understand shit. I don't know what the fuck I was talking about. And then you keep going deeper in it. It's a never ending, it's the never ending rabbit hole. The psychedelic experience is never ending. It will always keep breeding out information because I personally feel like the answers of the universe is inside of the psychedelic experience. The answers of the universe is inside of the quantum world. Understanding quantum physics, understanding how things work deep down at the core. This is how we can get to knowing reality. And this is the thing. I believe that psychedelics are an undiscovered science. I believe that Mother Nature, the consciousness of the planet, the consciousness of these psychedelics, I believe that this is just an undiscovered science. And so, in a way, I am doing science. In a way, every single psychonaut out there who is taking these things deeply, and I broke the psychedelic path into two paths, right? I made a video about this. Basically calling it the psychedelic journey and the shamanic journey, or the psychedelic path and the shamanic path. And the psychedelic path is basically just somebody who kind of uses psychedelics and helped their life, and maybe they went down, did ayahuasca a couple times, helped their life, but they didn't take it much deeper than that. The shamanic path is somebody who takes it so deep they want to understand. They want to learn from the psychedelics. The psychedelic is their teacher, and they want to learn everything the teacher has to offer. And when you're learning that way, right, with these psychedelics, it's very it starts to get scientific. It starts to get interesting because, like I said, a lot of people don't take people seriously unless they have a degree. But I am somebody who firmly believes a fucking piece of paper does not prove your intelligence. A piece of paper doesn't prove a goddamn thing. Like, in college, people are forced to go to class, they're forced to do this, and so what? Yeah, you had 4 years of being forced to go to school. Well, I've had 4 years of being not forced to learn, and I'm learning what I want to learn. I'm learning about quantum physics, I'm learning about business, I'm learning about computers, I'm learning about cryptocurrency, I'm learning about blockchain, I'm learning about the evolution of the world, social media, the psychedelic path, the other dimensions. I'm learning just as much from my experiences as I am from other people's experiences, because that's the beauty of the internet now. When we have a psychedelic experience, we can talk to our friends about it, because through the internet we can meet new friends, people that are on a similar path and journey in life, people who are doing a similar thing. I believe that this world that we're in right now is in a complete change, and pretty soon here, science and psychedelics are going to have to merge. If we ever want to fully understand reality, that's the only way. I remember talking to my friend Fi about I forget we were tripping, but I don't know what we were on, or maybe it was a candy flipping experience or ayahuasca experience. I don't know, but I know we were basically talking about, you know, are psychedelics the only way? Is that the only way we can get people to fully wake up? And we were thinking about it for a while, and it was like we came up with the conclusion for right now, yeah, for right now, psychedelics are the only way. Um, and maybe that will change, especially with quantum physics and quantum mechanics, but I don't believe it will because I think it is an undiscovered science. So, to what science is slowly doing is figuring out the world. Now, we live in a world where, in the beginning of this, our human existence here, the church was in charge of everything. Now, we live in a world where science is in charge of everything. The church is still kind of behind science, like science is up here now, the church is down here. But at one point, the church was up here and science was down here. And basically, it was illegal to practice certain science. And, because of the church, slowly the world began to change. But this is what I mean. The same thing's going to happen with psychedelics. There was a time where science wasn't taken seriously because the church held it back. And right now we're in a time where psychedelics are not taken seriously because science is holding them back. But the same thing that happened with the church, to let science in, is the same thing that's going to happen with science to let psychedelics in. You're going to have no choice but to let the psychedelic knowledge in. Start listening to psychonauts. Start listening to people who are not scientists, because people who are not scientists have no limitations. No limitations. That is the main issue with science, is that there is a limitation to what they will do and what they will believe and what they will practice and what they will try. And mainly because there's no evidence. Well, yes, there is fucking evidence. I'm sorry to say, but when there are thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people, probably millions now. Thousands, I'm just going to say thousands though. Thousands of people that literally have experienced the psychedelic experience, have came back and been like, holy fuck, this is real. Why is it that people that I've never met in my entire life, why is it that I could randomly type in right now DMT trip report or psychedelic trip report or mushroom trip report or whatever, especially the DMT trip report? Why is it that I can look up DMT trip reports and they're very similar? All of them are different, right? Because I've had hundreds of DMT trips and not one of them was the exact same as another. They're all different from each other. But some of them are similar. Some trips I've been to the same place, like it's like, yeah, you could tell that's a place, because I've been there again. But there are other people who have been there too. That's what makes it more real. That's why I mean, science isn't looking at it because it's almost like these things are connected. Why is it that someone can smoke DMT on one side of the world and on the other side of the world not know each other but have a similar experience? And it's like some people will be like, oh, that's just what the drug does. No, that's not what the drug does. Psychedelics are not like other substances where you take them and this is what happens. It's different than that. When you smoke weed, for example, you smoke and that's what happens. You take kratom and that's what happens. When you take the kratom, if somebody uses kratom, we all know what kratom feels like. When somebody smokes weed, we kind of all know what weed feels like. There are different strains of kratom and there are different strains of weed, but in the ballpark aim, same thing with alcohol. You know what alcohol does. You know what kratom does. You know what weed does because it does a similar thing no matter who takes it. But it's different with psychedelics. These things are a little more personal than that. These things are a little more deeper than that. They're a little more unpredictable than that. And it just seems, you can't explain it to somebody who hasn't done psychedelics, but you can explain that it seems more real than this world we're living in now. You can't explain that to somebody. And that's the shit that science doesn't fuck with. When you come back talking about, oh, I had conversation with interdimensional being, and I met this being and that being, and Mother Ayahuasca helped me through this, and I was talking in elf language, I was singing objects into creation with my voice, and those are things that science doesn't want to look at because I think science is scared. Terrence McKenna is 100% right. I think he was talking about, it was obviously a while ago, but I think he was talking about in this one video, uh, science wouldn't survive the psychedelic experience, or at least science as it is right now would not survive. Quantum physics and quantum mechanics would thrive, right? They would blow up because it's the first time I ever laid my eyes on quantum mechanics and quantum physics. Quantum mechanics is hard to follow. Quantum physics is a lot easier to follow. But I'm trying to figure out quantum physics as well because as soon as I laid my eyes on quantum physics and quantum mechanics, then I started getting into sacred geometry. Put those two together, you have the math and science of the psychedelic world. You have the math and science of God in a way. That's just the math and science of the next dimension. And quantum physics has proven that there are other dimensions. I mean, that's what I mean, that quantum physics isn't taken seriously, because I have a friend who's in college. He almost has a master's degree, but he has no clue about quantum physics and quantum mechanics because it's a new science coming. Just like in school. When I was in high school, I didn't learn about any of that shit. I maybe I did, but I take that back. In high school, I didn't pay attention in high school, so I really don't know what the fuck they were trying to teach me in high school. But all I know is that, I was talking to my friend, and he was like, he didn't learn that in high school. And I mean, like I said, he has almost his master's degree. So it's like, there are a lot of things, a lot of new discoveries, a lot of new science, a lot of new information that is being brought to the table. And as the evolution of the world happens, as the evolution of the world continues, it's only going to happen faster. Technology is not going to slow down the evolution. It's going to speed up the evolution. It's going to force us to evolve faster. That's why I believe that psychedelics are making a comeback, because I feel like they have to make a comeback. It's like, psychedelics kind of started making a comeback in 2012, and from there on out, but then, so I mean, so did kind of quantum physics and quantum mechanics, and so did like all these other shits, man. It's like the world is evolving, things are changing, and as things are changing, we're gonna have to change our point of view. Science is gonna have to be more open-minded. Psychedelic philosophers are gonna have to be more open-minded. We're all gonna have to be more open-minded if we want to understand what the fuck is going on. Because, like I said, it's a beautiful thing not being a scientist. I used to want a degree. Like, I used to be like, man, I wish I had my degree so people would take me more seriously. And then I would think to myself, I don't give a fuck if anyone takes me seriously. I don't give a fuck. I'm expressing my truth. I'm expressing what I've been through. I've done many psychedelic experiences, hundreds of DMT experiences, I don't know, like 20 LSD experiences, like 10, 15, mushroom experiences, a couple ayahuasca experiences, and I've experimented with about 20 to 30 different plants and herbs, from the Ayurvedic herbs to the, Chinese herbs to the, some African herbs to some South American herbs to some North American herbs to, you know, I've tried to expand my horizon with all these plants and substances, because I believe that humans are like computers, and I believe that these molecules attach to our brain like a portable hard drive. I made a video on that as well. It's in my theory series, my What is a Molecule episode in theory series, but I don't know. I just think that if you are a psychonaut, if you are on the shamanic path, trying to understand the psychedelic realm, trying to understand the psychedelic experience, trying to learn from it, like the psychedelic is your teacher and you are the student and you just want to learn as much as possible, be proud that you're not a fucking scientist. Because look at these scientists. I mean, no offense to Dennis McKenna, fucking love you, bro. But like, look at like it's like science has kind of held him back a little bit because he can't push certain things, mainly because he'd risk his job. I mean, look at Rick Strassman, for example. When Rick Strassman did the DMT spirit molecule, when he was doing the study on it, he had to look for certain things, right? He had to like check for heart rate and see what the DMT did for that. It's not like the scientific experiment directed towards trying to figure out the inner dimensions and trying to figure out interdimensional travel and light beings from other dimensions and trying to communicate with beings and learn and seeing objects in the creation, figuring out what the fuck is going on, figuring out the afterlife. And science is not legally supposed to look at those type of things. So that is the issue that science has. Not an issue I have, not an issue you have. If you're not a scientist and you're a psychedelic explorer, explore the fuck out of psychedelics. Explore it and then speak about it. Do not worry if people take you seriously. I think too many people give a fuck about what other people think. Speak about your experiences. Speak your truth. It does not have to be the truth. It just has to be your truth. And when you speak your truth from your psychedelic experiences, I'll speak my truth from my psychedelic experiences, and then we can all compare. And then when you start comparing, you can start putting together the things that are similar, the things that are different, and you can separate from there and there. Like, this is what I mean, where I kind of look at the psychedelic experience in a scientific way, but yet I'm not a scientist because I feel like life is science and it is scientific. Like, I am like the mad scientist experimenting on myself because a lot of science, and that's the one issue I have with psychedelic scientists. If you are a psychedelic scientist and you have never done psychedelics, I'm sorry for sounding so rude right now, but you should not be fucking speaking upon something you know nothing about. And I don't care if psychedelics, I've read many books. I've read no book on psychedelics. Zero. I mean, literally, I've read like zero books. I've read one book my whole entire life, so, on my own, besides school, reading books for me and shit like that. But, like, and it wasn't a psychedelic book. So, what I'm saying is, I don't give a fuck how many books you've read on psychedelics. I don't give a fuck on how many studies you've done on other people. You got to study on yourself. One issue science has is, they can't necessarily study on themselves that much. You know what I mean? It's like, you do got those ballsy scientists and those ballsy chemists like Alexander Shulgin, I'm pretty sure his name was. Amazing, amazing, amazing chemist. He was an amazing person, deep diver. He was very much a psychonaut, basically, who would use the substances on himself and then see what happens and then write about it. But luckily, he was a legit scientist, so he can actually scientifically document some things more legit than I can. But at the same time, what makes a scientist research more legit than somebody else's? I mean, yeah, they have certain regulations that they have to go through, and you could say that it's the regulations, it's the whatever, it's the placebo, it's the this, it's the that. It's the double blind studies, it's all this other shit they do. But it's like, besides all that shit, we are doing science still. Science is just, what is science trying to do? What is the main objective of science, right? It's to figure out reality, right? What's the main objective of psychedelic psychonauts? To understand reality, right? Like philosophers, deep thinkers, deep divers. We're all doing the same thing. So why not do the same thing together? Because we would get there much quicker. I know we all heard that saying, if you want to make it, then go alone. You want to make it quick and far, then go as a team. And that's what I think we need to do. Come together. Put aside our differences. Science is going to force an evolution anyways. Science as we know it will die. It will die. I can say that with much confidence because I know that quantum physics and quantum mechanics is gonna make science reach a breaking point. The same thing with the psychedelic, knowledge. When they can put something up to my head, or not my personally, but like when they could put something up to somebody's head while they smoke DMT and be able to see on a screen what they're seeing behind their eyes, then you'll have some wild fucking science. Then you'll have some science that has to force an evolution, that has to change, because everything will change at that point. Everything. What happens when we get deeper into quantum mechanics and quantum physics? What happens when we get deeper into this shit? Then we figure out, I mean, we're already deep into it, it's just people don't take it seriously. People be like, oh, string theory. But string theory has been updated. For those who don't know, they're updating all these philosophies, all these ideas, all these theories. They're updating them all as time goes on because this is a new science. So there's new discoveries made in this new science almost every day. And the same thing with psychedelics. There are new discoveries made with psychedelics every day. You know, so many people talk about Mother Ayahuasca. It's ridiculous. So now it's like, how could you say Mother Ayahuasca isn't real when so many people have actually seen it? We have this psychedelics are. It's funny because psychedelics, I believe, is where everything came from. I believe science came from psychedelics. I believe religion came from psychedelics. I believe math came from psychedelics. I believe astronomy came from psychedelics. I believe that being a doctor, a healer came from psychedelics. I believe that it all came from psychedelics. The shaman basically was all of that at once at one point. And then things started spreading out. It's like the shaman and the psychedelic knowledge spread out into science, spread out into religion, spread out into astronomy, spread out into math, spread out into all these different avenues. And what needs to happen again is it needs to come back together and be one again. I believe that at one point in this human society, in this human race, we looked up to the psychedelic as the answer because that's all there was. When we used it, that's probably how religion got started. People taking mushrooms, then worshiping the mushroom, and using ormus and other plants like blue lotus, and using things like ayahuasca, Syrian rue seeds, acacia confusa, mimosa hostilis. There's many different plants and herbs that I feel like have molded the human psyche and the human mind and have put us right here. But one of the main issues I feel like is religion was a big issue, and now science is a big issue. Because religion was the big issue because it was holding back science. It was holding back philosophy. It was holding back knowledge. It prevented us from learning what we needed to learn. It prevented us from knowing what we needed to know because religion wanted to say that they knew that this is what is. And no, it's not what is. You guys are it is, but you guys are missing information. You're withholding information from us, and that's the issue. Withholding information does not it's not going to get us any farther. That's really what the issue is. I feel like the psychedelics were the first thing humans ever got knowledge from. And then, that's how religions started. But then religions they started demonizing the plants. They started basically saying, we had these visions, but they're not telling you where they got the visions from. They're just saying, oh, we had a vision of God. How did you have a vision of God? Because every time I've had a vision of quote unquote God, I was on a psychedelic. So, or a plant like blue lotus, in a deep closed eye meditation, you have, kind of visuals behind the eyes with a deep blue lotus experience. But what I'm saying is that I just think that we need to get back to figuring out what the fuck is going on. And how to get back to that is, well, let's get back to figuring out what they did before. What they did before? They probably just took plants and herbs and then was, philosophizing and deep thinking and fucking getting all these ideas. And it's kind of the similar idea of the stoned ape theory, but a little different because I don't necessarily think it's quite possible that it was monkeys that ate the mushrooms, but I don't necessarily think it's monkeys. I think we haven't really changed much physically, I think, in a long time. So I think the only thing that's really changed is our mental capability. I mean, obviously, we're not Neanderthals anymore, but what I mean is, I believe that psychedelics, yes, they've helped our evolution, and right now they're helping evolution again. But right now they're not getting taken as seriously because science is kind of holding the information, just like religion held science back. Science is holding psychedelics back. So let's change that, and let's all move forward together, because that's the only way we're going to get to understanding what really is going on. So, thank you guys so much for watching. I apologize this has been such a long video, but it is what it is. But thank you guys so much, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Much love, everyone. Peace out.